What's the plan, Ken? We're going to do a trial?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, unfortunately, it looks like we lost both parents. Oh, here we go. Dad's back. But I'm not sure what happened to Ms. Webb. She's not in the breakout room anymore, and she's not come back into the court hearing. Ms. Cooling, do you have a phone number for her?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Can you give me that, please?
Gunner, I have it if you need it.
Sorry.
Actually, let me just check. Yeah, okay, there wasn't one on the petition. Yeah, go ahead.
It is 517
Oh, here she is. Here she is. You let her in. And okay, looks like we're connected to everyone. Let me verify. Ms. Webb, can you hear me now?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Russell, can you hear me? Mr. Russell?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so I understand, Mr. Russell, that you are willing to do a release of your parental rights. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, so what I can do is schedule that for a week from now because there has to be some paperwork prepared. What time did we set that other one for, Shannon? 10:15? 10:45 next Tuesday, which is March 23. And sir, you're welcome to stay around and observe. It looks like we are proceeding as to Ms. Webb.
Okay, if Mr. Kelly could just call me back and let me know what's going on. I can hardly hear anything. There's forklifts inside, semi trucks outside. I can hardly hear. I'm struggling.
I'll give you a call, Mr. Russell, as we talked about.
All right, thank you. I need to get
You're
back to
welcome.
work anyway. Y'all have a good day.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Mr. Hotchkiss, we ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm ready, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Way, call your first witness.
I would call Ms. Cooling, Your Honor.
Ms. Cooling, would you raise your right hand, please? You do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
State your full name and then spell it, please.
Lindsay Cooling, Lindsey, last name Couling.
Go ahead, Mr. Way.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Cooling, you are the foster care worker for David Russell and Rain Roquefort, is that correct?
Yes,
And did you file the supplemental petition in this case?
I did.
At the time you filed it, was everything true to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
David and Rain
Mr.
were...
Way, let me interrupt you for just a minute. Ms. Everett, can you hear me?
Sir,
Your case was adjourned. I didn't want to leave you hanging out here wondering. When did we reschedule it for, Shannon?
who was that?
April 13th, I think.
Mother Shannon Everett. I'm sorry, say that again, Matt.
I think it's April 13th is what Shannon said this morning.
Was this Nefer?
Nefer,
Yeah.
That
yes.
one was all backed up. Hang on. Let me see. I think that's right.
So we're double checking, ma'am.
April 13th at 1.
April 13th at 1 o'clock.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too.
I'm sorry, Mr. Way, you may continue.
Thank you. Ms. Cooling, David and Rain were removed from their mother back in February of 2020. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
What was the reason that those two were removed from Ms. Webb?
The children were removed from Ms. Webb due to Ms. Webb giving birth to Rain Rockford. He tested positive for methamphetamine and methadone at the time of birth. And so the agency removed both children at that time.
Were there concerns about Ms. Webb's past history?
Yes, there was.
And what were those?
Ms. Webb has a past history of substance abuse, as well as her mental health concerns. Ms. Webb also has a prior termination in Colorado. Those were the prior concerns.
There was an adjudication and disposition back on May 6th of 2020. Does that sound correct?
Yes, that does.
And at disposition, Ms. Webb was ordered to complete a psychological assessment. Was she referred for a psychological evaluation?
Yes, Ms. Webb was.
And did she complete one?
A psychological assessment was never completed.
And can you explain what happened with that?
Yes. At the time in May, COVID concerns were still very heightened. And so a referral was made to Dr. Lauder. Dr. Lauder at that time was only completing virtual psychological assessments. There was a psychological assessment scheduled. However, Dr. Lauder felt it was not in Ms. Webb's best interest to have it virtually due to concerns regarding Ms. Webb's mental health. So at that time, the assessment did not occur. I was indicated by Dr. Lauder to reach back out towards the end of the summer to see if they were having in person at that time. She still, as to this day, is not scheduling in-person assessments. The agency then reached out to Dr. Rickman to see if he would complete an in-person psychological assessment. He did indicate he would. At that time,
Wait, do you recall when about that was?
sorry, for Dr. Rickman or Dr. Lauder.
Dr. Rickman, when you reached out to him initially?
Yes, it was October 28th of 2020.
Okay, and did something cause a delay with Dr. Rickman?
Yes, so Dr. Rickman unfortunately was not able to continue in-person psychologicals through the remainder of 2020 due to COVID cases increasing. I did reach out to Dr. Rickman again in January of this year, requesting an in-person psychological. He did indicate he would complete an in-person psychological. However, Ms. Webb was incarcerated at that time. So the agency had an inquire with Dr. Rickman, who indicated he would be willing to go to the jail to complete a psychological assessment after he received both of his COVID vaccines, which were not until mid-February of this year.
Did Dr. Lauder initially express some issues with Ms. Webb, I guess, missing an appointment?
Yes, so because Dr. Lauder was not completing in-person assessments. There was a scheduled phone call with Ms. Webb that Ms. Webb did miss. Dr. Lauder then reached out to her the next day to follow up with her regarding this missed assessment. And she basically indicated the concern that Ms. Webb was not able to understand or comprehend that it was a virtual assessment and did not feel it was appropriate to continue at that time with a virtual psychological assessment.
Okay. Ms. Webb was ordered to participate with substance abuse services. Did you refer Ms. Webb to substance abuse services?
Yes, I did on several occasions.
And well, let's talk about the first time. What did you initially recommend for her or refer her to?
Yep. Ms. Webb was referred on May 21st to attend Family Service and Children's Aid Born Free Open Access Hours, which is their initial assessment or start to their initial substance abuse assessment. And that was that referral.
And what happened with that?
Ms. Webb did not follow through and did not attend the open access hours.
Did you make other attempts to get Ms. Webb involved with substance abuse services?
Yes.
What other attempts did you make?
In August 2020, October 29th of 2020, and again in November, on November 23rd. So essentially during our monthly meetings with Ms. Webb, it was asked for her to participate in those services.
And was that a substance abuse assessment at each one of those times?
That's correct.
Okay. So you haven't even been able to get an assessment done to determine the level of need that Ms. Webb has at this point. Is that fair to say?
That is correct.
Had Ms. Webb was ordered to participate in random drug screens. Has she done that?
Ms. Webb has not participated in any of her random drug screens other than one drug screen during the year of this case. She completed a random drug screen on February 2nd of 2021 after her release from jail.
Was that negative?
Yes, it was.
Do you know approximately how many she's missed in the year plus that the case has been open?
She was scheduled to complete 98 random drug screens and only completed one. So she's missed 97 random drug screens.
Okay. Ms. Webb was also ordered to complete parenting classes. Was there a referral made for that?
Yes, there was.
And did you explain to Ms. Webb how to participate in that program or what she needed to do to set it up?
Yes, the agency actually makes that referral, as it was a referral for the in-home parent education, which is a one-on-one program. The agency made that referral on June 30th of 2020.
And what happened with that program?
The case was assigned on July 16th of 2020. Ms. Webb missed several initial meetings. And so her first assessment or meeting with that worker occurred on August 20th. The in-home parent education was willing to work with Ms. Webb for approximately 6 months. However, on January 11th of 2021, they did indicate they'd have to close the case due to Ms. Webb's lack of compliance.
Do you know how often, if at all, she participated in that program between August 20th and January 11th?
She was scheduled to participate weekly. However, she would miss meetings. I don't have the exact number of missed meetings.
But her case was closed unsuccessfully?
That's correct.
Okay. I believe Ms. Webb's parenting time is suspended currently, correct?
Yes, for both children.
Was she offered supervised parenting time previously?
Yes, she was.
And what periods of time are we talking about there?
So due to COVID, it is chunked up into weird time frames. So please let me know if I need to slow down. So when the keep opened in February of 2020, we were still offering in-person visits at that time. And Ms. Webb participated in 4 out of 10 supervised parenting times at DHS. Due to COVID, in March, on March 16th, the agency did shut down in-person visits, and so scheduled phone calls and Zoom calls were scheduled. Ms. Webb participated in 16 out of the 30 scheduled visits or phone calls. I apologize. On June 16th, the agency was able to resume in-person visits at the agency with having 1 visit per parent. Ms. Webb participated in those visits from 6/16/2020 to 11/5/2020. And she participated in 12 out of 20 supervised parenting times. On November 10th, Ms. Webb's parenting times for her son David were suspended. However, visits with her son Rain continued. So from 11/12 of 2020 to 1/5 of 2021, when Ms. Webb was incarcerated, she participated in 1 out of 10 supervised parenting times with her son Rain.
Okay, so you mentioned the visits for David were initially suspended due to a trauma assessment, correct?
That's correct.
Where was that trauma assessment done?
David's trauma assessment was completed through, I can't remember the full name of it, through the Children's Trauma Assessment Center.
Is that the Western Michigan program with Dr. Henry?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And as a result of Dr. Henry's evaluation of David, did he ever end up making any recommendations in terms of Ms. Webb's parenting rights?
Yes, it was recommended by Dr. Henry that the parental rights to both David's mother and father be terminated due to the concern of his severe trauma.
Did Dr. Henry have any ideas of or thoughts on where that trauma was coming from? Did he indicate that in his report at all?
So Dr. Henry did recommend that visits with the mother and father be suspended back in November of 2020 due to the concern that David had experienced trauma with both of his parents. It was not indicated which parent at that time due to David's age and his inability to vocalize his trauma, essentially.
Okay. All right, and then in terms of Rain's putative father is Gary Rocafort, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And DNA testing confirmed that he is the biological father of Rain, is that right?
That is correct.
Did you reach out to him about establishing paternity?
I did. I reached out to Mr. Rocafort after the DNA results came back that he was the biological father. He indicated he was not interested in signing an affidavit of parentage at that time.
Ms. Queen, are you aware whether Ms. Webb has any suitable employment and or housing?
She does not, as of my knowledge.
Have you been to any apartment or a house that she's staying at to verify it?
No.
Okay. And then back to parenting time real quick. How did parenting time go with Ms. Webb when she did show up?
When Ms. Webb was present for parenting times, Ms. Webb was found to be very unorganized, I guess you could say. Often was trying to have several different conversations at the same time with the children, was often interacting more with David than with Rain. Again, the visits did not happen very often. So that was kind of the duration of the case of the parenting time, because Ms. Webb would arrive or be seen over the phone would often go on rants, I guess you could say, that would kind of bring confusion to the child, to the 4-year-old at that time, who was David. So
how would you describe the bond between Ms. Webb and her children at this point?
I would say Ms. Webb there's not a bond between Ms. Webb and Rain at this time. Rain was removed from the hospital and has spent very little time in person with Ms. Webb. I do think Ms. Webb is very bonded to her son, David, and vice versa. I do believe David is bonded to his mother. However, there are concerns due to his trauma that it is not a safe or appropriate bond he may have with his mom.
What do you mean by that?
So how do I explain this? David's response to his mom is more of a parent figure. He often corrects his mom or tries to get her to change the topic during visits instead of it being Farah being the parent and David being the child, if that makes sense.
Sure. So it's kind of a role reversal?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And currently, where are David and Rain placed?
David is placed with his maternal grandmother, and Rain is placed with his maternal aunt.
So just so I'm clear, they're both with maternal relatives?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Do you have any concerns for either child's care in those homes?
No, I do not.
Have those relatives expressed a preference as to whether they would like to adopt versus being a long-term guardian or something else?
Both relatives have indicated they would like to adopt the children.
Do you believe that both relatives would keep the children safe from their mother if her rights were terminated and she was not an appropriate caregiver?
Yes, I do.
Have you had those discussions with the placements about that would be their responsibility if rights were terminated and adoption occurred?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And you have faith in both of those placements to do that?
I do have faith in both those placements. They would keep the children safe and would not allow contact with Farah or Ms. Webb.
Ms. Cooling, do you have an opinion as to what is in the best interest of David and Rain as it relates to Ms. Webb's parental rights?
The agency does believe it's in David's best interest that parental rights to his mother be terminated, and the same for Rain, due to the fact that Ms. Webb has not rectified or completed any of her court-ordered services during the time of the neglect and abuse case. Further, the agency feels that with the termination of parental rights, it will give the children a sense of permanency, safety, and stability, which these children have not had, especially for David, since he was essentially born, and for Rain.
And so, Ms. Coyne, I know what you said, Ms. Webb hasn't completed any of her services. Is it fair to say we could at least, I guess, because of COVID and everything that's happened, the psychological evaluation is not necessarily her fault? Is that fair to say?
That is accurate. Due to COVID, the psychological assessment was kind of out of everyone's control. And due to the circumstances and wanting to make sure we're meeting Ms. Webb's needs as it relates to having an accurate psychological, that was completely out of her control.
Even if she had completed that psychological, would that change your stance today?
No, it would not.
Is the substance abuse issue an equal concern of yours?
Absolutely. Yes, it is.
And based on your experience over the past year with Ms. Webb, well, do you know whether Ms. Webb has attempted to address her mental health needs separate from a psychological evaluation?
Not to my knowledge. When I have addressed Ms. Webb's mental health needs with her, she indicates to me that she's fine and she does not need services.
Okay. Thank you. I have nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
Questions, Mr. Hotchkiss?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Ms. Cooling, I think you indicated that you don't really fault Ms. Webb for not completing the psychological evaluation. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And isn't it true that that psychological evaluation could have provided a great deal of insight as to her traumatic brain injury and maybe how her mind functions?
That is correct, yes.
And normally with the psychological evaluations, your recommendation or the agency's recommendation is that you follow whatever services are recommended based upon the psychologist's report. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
And I think you testified that you're aware that Ms. Webb has had a traumatic brain injury. True?
I did not testify to that today, but I am aware that Ms. Webb.
Are you aware that that's part of her medical history?
Yes, I am aware of that.
And do you think it would be especially important that given that history that psychological evaluation occurs so that maybe you can find the right services to provide to her so that she can deal with the issues that cause you concern?
I do believe that a psychological assessment would be helpful in this situation. However, there are other factors at play here regarding her substance abuse, and the fact that she has not participated in a substance abuse assessment. So I do believe there's other things at play other than Ms. Webb's mental health.
Okay. Do you think that the two are unrelated? Her mental health and her ability and willingness to participate in services?
I'm sorry, can you re-ask that question?
Sure. You think that the two, and by the two, I mean her inability to take a psychological evaluation and provide those results and that information to you, do you think that that could be related to her inability to understand and engage in the other services that cause you concern?
Potentially, yes.
Okay. The drug screens, you mentioned that she's really only participated in one drug screen, is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
And it's been quite an unusual year in 2020 in getting to drug screens and so forth because of COVID. You would agree with that?
All of our drug screens have been open. There's been different hours. However, all of our drug screen locations have been open for drug screens since May of 2020.
Okay. And has Ms. Webb advised you of any issues with transportation or inability to make the drug screens?
She has not, no.
You mentioned and spoke about, I think, parenting classes. Was that with Ms. Crittenden?
Yes, it was.
And do you have any reports from Ms. Crittenden as to the number of sessions she had and where those sessions may have occurred?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And how many of those sessions did Ms. Webb fail to attend or participate in?
Off the top of my head, unfortunately, I do not know that number. I do know that towards the end, so from August of 2020, when Ms. Webb started participating, to the end of December, Ms. Webb would miss probably 1 or 2 sessions a month. However, in January, she stopped participating due to her incarceration. And at that time, Ms. Crittenton reported that the in-home parent education had already been extended for 6 months. So we did a second extension. It's typically a 3-month program. And due to her non-compliance, they did unsuccessfully close it.
Okay. And was that non-compliance as a result of her being incarcerated and unable to attend?
No, she also had non-compliance prior to her incarceration.
And by non-compliance, are you suggesting that she failed to attend her sessions with Ms. Crittenden?
Yes, that is what I'm implying, yes.
Okay. Do you know whether or not she made any progress at all with those parenting classes?
Ms. Crittenton did report that very little progress was made towards the parent education piece. Often Ms. Crittenton would report that Ms. Webb would just talk to her and that they weren't able to actually address the parent education part of those meetings.
You had testified to the supervised parenting time that Ms. Webb was involved with, and I think you'd indicated there were some interruptions for COVID, right?
Yes, there was.
And then there was some that were done at the agency and some that were done over phone, over Zoom, et cetera, correct?
Correct.
During those supervised, during that supervised parenting time that she did complete, to observe about her parenting skills.
It was observed during the. Sorry, can you guys hear me? For some reason, I'm double talking. It was observed that Ms. Webb often was being redirected by her son during those visits. Ms. Webb was erratic during those visits, very hyperactive, and it was hard to, I guess, to say in the least, is the ability for her to parent her children was not observed during those visits, as she often was asked by the supervising person to help with her children or not have them do something in the visit room. It was often directed either by that supervising person or her son correcting her in those visits.
Were the visit? It sounds like the visits were together with both children. Is that right?
Yes, initially they were.
So you have essentially a baby and a 5-year-old.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, and that's in a little visitation room, correct?
Yes, at DHS.
Okay, all right. Did anyone ever do any kind of an investigation into any specialized services that Ms. Webb may benefit from because of her mental health history?
No.
In your supplemental petition, I think you mentioned her criminal history. Do you know exactly what her criminal history is and what she has been convicted of?
At this time, I don't believe she's been convicted of any of the pending charges.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have anything further.
Questions, Ms. McCluskey?
No questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Redirect Mr. Way.
Yes, just briefly, Your Honor. Thank you. Ms. Cooling, do you know when Ms. Webb's traumatic brain injury occurred?
From my knowledge, it occurred when she was a teenager.
Okay, would that have been, so subsequent to that, there's been previous court involvement in Jackson County, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then also subsequent to the brain injury, she had a termination in Colorado of her rights, correct?
That is correct.
Mr. Hotchkiss asked you about issues with drug screening through COVID. You have other cases where clients drug screen, is that correct?
That is correct.
Have other clients' parents been able to complete drug screening successfully during COVID?
Yes, they have.
Did Ms. Webb ever express to you that she couldn't get to a screen or anything like that?
No, she did not.
Mr. Hotchkiss also asked you about exploring specialized mental health services. Can you explain why you didn't explore those specialized services? Was Ms., let me ask that a different way. Was Ms. Webb's unwillingness to participate a barrier in that regard?
Yes, Ms. Webb's lack of participation or unwillingness to participate, especially when it came to her mental health, was a huge barrier for this case.
Do you know of any service that could, I guess, influence Ms. Webb in a way where she might want to participate in a service? Do you know of anything like that?
I do not.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any further questions of this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Oh, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, I want to take a short break now, 5 minutes. I'll stop the live stream.